Hello, welcome back to That Yellow Tiger channel. Today is day 2 and we'll get to see the Isle of Skye, which is, well, breathtaking at the least. Let's jump right into it. We are leaving Fort William at around 9 AM and the goal is to ride for approximately 150 miles within 4 hours. We're not being time restricted in any way, especially that we start early, but it is how long it should take considering sticking to speed limits and potential traffic in a summer season. I look only at riding time itself, no breaks considered. There will be 3 stops on the way. First one at Loch Cluanie viewpoint, second at Breakish for lunch, third at the Old Man of Storr, which is a highlight of the day, and fourth and final back in Breakish. Before we get any further, I wanted to pay a little tribute to someone who sparked the whole idea and show me how amazing Scotland can be on a motorcycle. I'm talking about the lad from the Missing and Flyer channel who covers touring, bike news and in-person reviews. If you're into motorcycles, I highly recommend checking him out. If you ever watch this, thank you, Mr. Flyer. The North Coast 500 truly changed my life for better. With that out of the way, let's carry on. We continue to follow A82 and we are now by Loch Cluanie, which is hidden deeper in the valley. Whoever named it, they must have been after a very long day of loch naming and just wanted to call it a day and hit that pub. I tried to find out what are the peaks that you can see in the back, but failed to do so. If you happen to know their names, please do enlighten me in the comments. I know this is just a cloud, but I like to think it's an actual peak due to its shape. The weather still looks gloomy and there will be a touch of drizzle, but what's past that is just a dream. This is also a point where we enter truer Scottish wilderness. Loch Cluanie is an incredibly picturesque area with its dark calm waters surrounded by steep mountains. Don't be fooled though. The legend says a supernatural being called River Horse, River Bull, Lord of the Lake or Water King, delete as appropriate, emerges from waters and feeds on the loch's banks. The road is so close to the water that you can nearly touch it, so don't get caught. I should have stopped here for some photos, shouldn't I? Since there's so much footage to cover today, I let myself prepare a couple of interesting facts about Scotland that I will present to you at random times. This is Loch Garry. Loch Garry is known for looking like a map of Scotland from certain angle, seen from the Glengarry viewpoint. My plan did not consider stopping there, but I can definitely see some resemblance. The unnamed mountain in the background is the exact one we saw when passing Loch Cluanie. As we get closer to our first stop, the weather starts being a little moody again. There is also something in the open space here, despite lack of proper landmarks. The quality of the road, the turns, the sense of tranquility and harmony. It may seem like not much on its own, but when you're there, it's just so soothing and spirit lifting. Even the heaviest clouds won't ruin your mood. And so we get wet again. Nothing major, but the image quality suffers considerably. Luckily, we also have a footage from rear camera. I really love how Loch Cluanie is buried in a fog. It has a sense of mystery and lets you immerse in Scottish climate even more. This is where we have our first break at Loch Cluanie viewpoint. I fueled up on some dried apricots and beef jerky, which I tried for the first time in my life, I swear. Oddly tasty. I also recorded some weird footage of me sitting on a rock and consuming those. I'm sure it was for some future montage purpose, but we'll see how it goes. Fun fact number 1. You probably didn't know that, but an official animal of Scotland is unicorn. Yes, unicorn. A symbol of purity, innocence, and apparently masculinity and power. This mighty mythical creature is often depicted chained to symbolize the power of Scottish kings. Loch Cluanie is so long and so beautiful at the same time, while having no interesting stories about it, that I decided to jump straight to fun fact number 2. I don't think this comes as a surprise that a raincoat has been invented in Scotland. An average amount of measurable rainy days a year in the Highlands stands at 250, compared to mere 133 for the entire UK. Over the course of this journey, you will see how lucky I was weather-wise. The raincoat itself was invented by a Glasgow-born chemist, Charles Mackintosh, in 1823, and it soon became known as Mac or Mackintosh, which is its popular name to this day. Moving on from Loch Cluanie, we come across 5 Sisters of Kintail. The list of peaks names is down below. There is a legend of 2 Irish princes washed ashore during a storm who fell in love with 2 of the 7 daughters of the King of Kintail. The king refused to allow the younger sisters to get married before the older ones do. Now, the 2 brothers swore they had 5 eligible older brothers of their own who would be delighted to marry them. And so they sailed away with their new brides, never to be seen again. The remaining 5 sisters waited and waited and waited until they turned into stone, their feet in the rivers, their heads in the clouds, forever waiting in Kintail for their non-existent husbands. As romantic and tragic this story is, it leaves us with views that take the breath away. I just wanted to make sure you've got that right. The 5 Sisters of Kintail is a mountain range in Kintail with 5 distinct peaks. Well, it looked like there's more than 5, but let's not overthink it. That little twisty stream on the left-hand side is River Cluanie, which trickles down from the mountains to feed the loch beneath. As we follow the 887 Old Miltoy Road, which takes us through the valley, we can admire sights of surrounding hills, which is a sight to behold. It really makes you think how insignificant we are in the grand scheme of things. The road itself takes us towards Loch Duich, followed by Loch Duich, and then straight to the Isle of Skye. It's nearly the good stuff time. We are at Loch Duich now. It is mostly known for the Eilean Donan castle that overwatches the junction of Loch Duich, Loch Duich and Loch Long. It's different Loch Long than the one we've seen in part 1. It's not as long. Loch Duich has a legend of its own. It states that 3 brothers who went fishing at the loch one night became enraptured by 3 seal maidens who had thrown off their furs, assumed the likeness of humans, and danced in the moonlight on the sands. The brothers stole their furs, intending to claim the seal maidens as their wives. The youngest brother, however, moved by seal girl's distress, returned her seal skin. For this kindness, the girl's father allowed the youngest brother to visit the maiden every ninth night. As for the other 2 brothers, the middle one lost his wife after she found the stolen fur, while the eldest brother burned his wife's fur as preventative measure only to burn her accidentally in the process. Right, accidentally. Scottish legends do tend to get grim at times, don't they? This was also a time where petrol was at 197 pence per litre, and it was one of the cheapest ones during the whole trip. Couldn't have picked better time for it, huh? And this is the very landmark I mentioned before, the Eilean Donan Castle. Here accessible also through the land due to low tide. A bit muddy though. A glance at Loch Duich, couple of photos, a nod at the fellow biker couple, and off we go for the Skye Bridge. Before we get there, let's get stuck at the roadwork site for like ages. I'm not sure I've seen these convoy cars before. Better safe than sorry, I suppose. The Skye Bridge is just a few miles ahead, so let me tell you its brief story. Before the bridge was built, there was only one way to get to the Isle of Skye, by ferry, and the voyage took around 5 minutes, plus the queuing time. The bridge construction started in 1992, and 3 years later, in 1995, the commuters could finally get across Loch Duich more easily. The Skye Bridge was never meant to be the longest or tallest of all bridges in Europe. It did excel in toll charging. The return toll was as high as £11 for a mere 1600 feet, or 500 meters. The bridge is free to cross since 2004. I stopped for lunch in Breakish, which is our final destination of the day, and we will return here by dusk. Typical Scottish lunch consists of sandwich with crisps, with a side of salad. I don't know, don't ask me. If you look outside, I don't know if you can see it, but the weather here in the south went, well, south. It makes me even more eager to go back to June and travel the north again. Now that we are well nourished, it's time to see what the fabled Isle of Skye has to offer. We are immediately welcomed by blue skies, and it looks like it's going to be a fine day after all. Here is a view at Loch Duich. This is by far one of the best landscapes you'll get to see in the Isle of Skye, and the entire Scotland for that matter. Loch Duich is a magnificent place surrounded by the Red Cullen Mountains. Some of the peaks you can see in the distance are Marskell and Glamach. Glamach comes from Gaelic and it meant a gritty woman. Sorry ladies, I don't make the rules. As we cross the Cullen Mountains, we can get a better look at Loch Duich, as well as the Inner Sound, which is a strait that separates the Inner Hebridean Islands of Skye from the Applecross Peninsula. Let's enjoy the scenery while I bring you some interesting stories about Isle of Skye. The ratio of sheep to people is around 10:1. There are around 100,000 sheep from a variety of breeds, and roughly 10,000 people living on the isle. If you're after eternal beauty, then all you need to do is visit the Isle of Skye and dip your face in the water under the old Sligerhan Bridge for 7 seconds. The tears of fierce female warrior who once battled these regions will do the rest. I have no reason to question the effectiveness. The A87 towards Portree unveils a scenery that is not to be seen anywhere else but here. The original plan was to visit a Talisker distillery, which is located not that far south from here. Sadly, they were closed for visitors at the time. Too bad. I really like Talisker. Skye's biggest town has a population of over 2,000. It's called Portree, and it's also Isle's capital. It's known for its colourful buildings and relaxed village mindset. And also for confused drivers using the wrong side of the road. In Portree we take A855 towards the Old Man of Storr. The road-like structure of this route leaves much to be desired, but given there was nearly no traffic and in fact it's in the middle of nowhere really, the ride was more than enjoyable. The Old Man of Storr awaits in the distance, while we pass what appears to be a Windows XP meadow. The two lochs on the right are Loch Fata and larger Loch Lathan, I think. I believe the latter feeds the former, but I could be wrong. Right, so we are finally here at the Old Man of Storr car park. I couldn't find any designated motorcycle spaces, but that's fine. It did cost a couple of quid though. It is now time to prepare for the hike. This includes change of clothing, camera removal, and putting some more comfortable footwear on. It was a little windy, so I brilliantly decided to keep my bike boots on. Big mistake. I don't want to get into details, just please remember, motorcycle boots are not for hiking. Old Man of Storr is probably the most famous walk on the island, and definitely the busiest. The Old Man is a large pinnacle of rock that stands high and can be seen from miles away. The Storr walk uses the same path up and down, with occasional steps laid for easy climb. Total distance is 2.3 miles or around 4 kilometers, with approximate elevation of 1100 feet or 340 meters. It takes over 1 hour each way. The Storr walk isn't particularly difficult, unless of course you're wearing motorcycle boots, but it's a constant climb. You can either choose to walk up to Old Man only, or there's an additional ridge that will take some more time and effort to reach. The second part is a little bit more complicated due to no clear path, especially with poor weather conditions. Also, watch out for unspecified animals' poos. It's slippery. I said to myself, I don't know when will I visit this region again, if ever, so I may just as well make it all the way to the top. And I did. It was painful, but also 100% worth it. I don't think there's many people who haven't seen this at least once. And let me tell you, photos do not do its justice. The weather conditions allow me to see for miles, and it was epic. I was lost for words. As a side note, it's crazy windy up there. As we slowly descend, I think it's a good time for a fun fact number 2. Or is it 3? I think it's 3. Scotland has approximately 790 islands, of which 660 are uninhabited. For as little as £350,000, you can become an owner of a 28 acres island with a 5-bedroom house and a lighthouse. How cool is that? And so we are on our way back to Breakish. It should take around 1 hour, but it's nice and early. Around 4 o'clock, I think. So there is no rush at all. These clouds are just mesmerizing, aren't they? It was an amazing day at the end. The weather, the views, full package. And it isn't even over yet. That's Portree again. It turns out they have a nice little bay called Loch Duich with some colourful houses on its shore. Scotland reminds me of Norway at times. Did a little tour around Trondheim a few years back. October in northern Norway is like all 4 seasons happening at the same time. Either way, back on 887. Cullen Mountains are still waiting for our return. They look much more impressive and majestic from this distance. This is just stunning. No other way to describe it. The sense of serenity amplifies the fact that there is no one around. It's how it should be experienced. As I already mentioned in part 1 of this series, you can experience the whole journey at your own pace in pure 360 with nice raw motorcycle sound. If you wish to do so, you can access the Pure 360 playlist from a link at the end of this video. Until then, let's enjoy the scenery as we head back to Breakish. I will disappear now for a while. Welcome back to Breakish, where we are staying overnight in a lovely place called the Old Schoolhouse, which is a part of a very well-known Red Skye restaurant. Both the restaurant and the Old Schoolhouse are run by the same person, incredibly friendly and helpful Mary. So if you're ever in the area, I highly recommend to pay her a visit. Locally sourced seafood is superb and the room's very cozy. So, this is it. It's the end of an extremely successful day in the Isle of Skye. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and that you'll join me on day 3 to discover breathtaking winding track of Bealach na Ba, famous Torridon Hotel and Ullapool. Catch you later.